Let's rock, baby.
Hello YouTube, this is Larry the Lone Wolf, howling through the vast wilderness of the internet, and I am finally going to talk about one of my favorite franchises of all time, Devil May Cry. In today's video, we will be covering the original Devil May Cry and why it is the most important action game ever made. In addition to this, I will also be giving you my overall opinion of the game and discuss if it still holds up today. Without further ado, let's rock, baby! The development history of Devil May Cry is very interesting and has been echoed throughout the internet by multiple content creators such as the Spear Hunter. However, I will share its history on this video, provided that this is your first exposure to the series, and if so, I'm glad to be your introduction. The development cycle started in 1999, and at the time, Capcom was working on what was supposed to be Resident Evil 4. However, Shinji Mikami, the creator of the Resident Evil series, had requested Hideki Kamiya, who would go on to be the creator of Devil May Cry, to develop a new entry in the Resident Evil series. Kamiya's concept was to make the game a stylized action game with a main protagonist named Tony Redgrave, who was portrayed as being invincible, cocky, and superhuman. Capcom, however, thought that this coolness concept was heavily deviating from the survival horror roots of Resident Evil. Rather than scrapping the project entirely, Capcom decided to continue developing the game as a new IP and rewrote the story to feature a world of demons and renamed the character to Dante. Capcom choosing to continue making the game was the best decision they ever made, and Devil May Cry would go on to be one of the most beloved action game franchises, as well as one of the most beloved Capcom franchises ever made. They announced the game in November of 2000, going under the name we would come to know and love today as Devil May Cry.
Block off, Featherface, or you can stick around and find out the hard way.
The year 2001 saw the release of Devil May Cry for the Sony PlayStation 2, and it was critically acclaimed for its gameplay mechanics, gothic yet stylish visuals, and intense action sequences. The combat system was praised for being both difficult and rewarding, with an emphasis on performing stylish combos and precise timing. The gothic art style almost reminds me of the Hammer horror films, very similar to Castlevania, and it really adds to the overall enjoyment. In addition to this, the boss battles were challenging and memorable. Who can forget coming across Phantom for the first time and getting a taste of what the rest of the game was going to be like? I remember coming face to face with him for the first time and getting my ass kicked multiple times, and I thought to myself, wow, this game is no joke. After figuring out his pattern, I was able to progress further into the game, but it would only become more grueling and unforgiving from this point. Devil May Cry was arguably the first game to coin the term hack and slash, and this revolutionary idea would become the standard for many action games for decades to come. Devil May Cry paved the way for future action games such as Bayonetta, Metal Gear Rising, God of War, and Astral Chain, a testament to its influence on the action genre and solidifying its status as a true game changer. Our main protagonist is Dante, a demon hunter, otherwise known as a devil hunter, who specializes in combating supernatural threats, specifically demons and other demonic entities. Dante is distinguished by his arrogant yet confident personality, as well as his iconic red trench coat, white hair, and unique weapons. He frequently employs a variety of weapons, such as his signature sword Rebellion, as well as his twin handguns Ebony and Ivory. As the offspring of the legendary Dark Knight Sparta and a human mother named Eva, Dante possesses both human and demon blood, endowing him with enhanced abilities, strength, and resilience. Dante would eventually go on to become one of the most beloved video game protagonists of all time, and his characterization would only get better throughout the series from this point. In the opening moments of Devil May Cry, we're treated to learning of a war between the human and demon worlds respectively that took place 2,000 years ago, which saw a demon turn against his own kind for the sake of preserving humanity. He was known as the legendary Dark Knight Sparta. He single-handedly defeated the Demon King Mundus himself and then sealed away the demon world along with his own powers. A mysterious woman named Trish attacks Dante, who is the son of Sparta, in his office. Dante retaliates by fighting back and then shrugs off the rest of her attacks and admits that he is after the ones who are responsible for his family's deaths. She claims that Dante's family was murdered by Mundus and that she attacked him as part of a test. Next, Trish removes her glasses and Dante is absolutely stunned at the fact that she resembles his deceased mother, Eva. They quickly arrive at a massive castle where Dante explores the castle and encounters the standard enemies of the game, for example, the demonic marionettes. By the way, screw those guys. In addition, he discovers a new weapon named Alistair and engages in combat with the first boss, a gigantic arachnid demon named Phantom. Dante wins the battle, but in a recurring motif, the defeated enemy creature reappears a short time later in the corridor, forcing the player to choose between a narrow escape or a fight in the confined space. Dante continues his journey and encounters a demon called Nello Angelo, whose confidence impresses Dante. After their battle, the demon departs abruptly upon seeing Dante's amulet fragment. In subsequent missions, the demon attacks twice more and is eventually revealed to be Dante's identical twin brother, Virgil. After Virgil's final defeat, his amulet fuses with his brother's, creating what's known as the Perfect Amulet, a gift from their mother, and that allows Dante to gain access to the demon world. Force Edge, the game's default weapon that belonged to the brothers' father, transforms into the formidable devil sword Sparta, named after the legendary Dark Knight himself. When Dante later encounters Trish, she betrays him and admits to working for Mundus as well. However, when her life is threatened, Dante decides to save her. Trish asks Dante why he saved her, to which he tells Trish that she resembles his mother, but he demands that she remain where she was as he is very angry at her for her betrayal. However, when he eventually confronts Mundus, who is about to murder Trish for his plan, Dante once again chooses to save her at the expense of his own well-being. Mundus attempts to finish him off, but Trish pushes Dante out of the way and takes the hit instead. Dante becomes enraged and unleashes his entire strength that he inherited from Sparta. In the cutscenes, the statue begins to shatter as it emits a glowing light, and Mundus spreads his wings to transform the background into a dimension in which he transports Dante. Dante asks Mundus why he created Trish, and Mundus responds rhetorically that he can create anything, just as he created Trish to bring down Dante. With a powerful imperative word to mute the Demon King, Mundus soars above the heavens in order to entice Dante. As the epic battle commences, he takes the form of Sparta and battles the Prince of Darkness. Dante ends up victorious and leaves the amulet and sword with Trish's lifeless corpse before leaving. Later, Mundus returns and traps Dante, who is now severely weakened, preventing him from fleeing Malay Island. However, Trish arrives in time to lend Dante her strength. Mundus is once again defeated by Dante and is sealed back into the demon world and pledges to return to reign over the human world. When Trish attempts to apologize, she begins to weep, in which Dante interprets as evidence that she is no longer merely a demon because, in his words, devils never cry. Dante and Trish flee the collapsing island in an aircraft. Dante and Trish are now partners and have renamed the shop Devil Never Cry. Thank God they didn't keep that name because that name sucks.
5 minutes.
More than enough.
In Devil May Cry, there are 4 difficulty levels: easy, normal, hard, and Dante Must Die. The game automatically begins with the player playing on normal mode and can gain access to harder difficulties as they play and beat the game. Also, if you die multiple times, the easy mode becomes unlocked. As the first installment in the series, Devil May Cry introduced a variety of novel gameplay elements to the gaming community. The stylish rank, which grades the player's combat performance, is the most significant of these. The game is divided into missions, which are scored separately based on factors such as orbs collected and damage sustained. The dynamic camera system is in this game, which I feel is taken from Resident Evil Code Veronica. The only difference between the two is that Devil May Cry doesn't use tank controls like Resident Evil did. It was originally going to have pre-rendered backgrounds, but Capcom insisted on doing a dynamic camera system so that it could stand out on its own. Needless to say, when this game first came out on PS2, it was definitely one of the best looking PS2 games, considering that it came out very early in the console's lifespan. And that's saying something. Other innovations include the Devil Trigger, which increases Dante's combat efficiency. The orb system, in which defeating adversaries with a high style rank produces more orbs, and red orbs serves as the game's currency for purchasing abilities and items. I suggest upgrading Dante's moveset and only buy items when necessary. Some of my favorite moves in the game include Stinger and Inferno, which might be one of the most OP moves in the game, and one of the reasons why Ifrit is one of my favorite weapons to use. Like I said at the start of the video, this game is notorious for its high level of difficulty. If it's your first time playing, or if you're an average player like me, you're going to die a lot.
You are dead!
Every time you die, you use a yellow orb, which revives you. When you run out, you have to load the game from the last time you saved. So be prepared for the hell that awaits throughout the game. By the way, Capcom, if you understand sign language, for all the pain that you've made me go through with this game, this is what I have to say. All jokes aside, and in general, Devil May Cry is a lot of fun to play. Even if subsequent entries in the series were only going to get better from here, the first game, while not necessarily aging as well as DMC3, I think it still holds up in 2023 in my personal opinion. To say that its high level of difficulty will have you on the edge of your seat is an understatement. The gothic art style is also aesthetically stunning, and it was a testament to what the PlayStation 2 could do early in its lifespan. The gameplay remains every bit as captivating as it was in the beginning, and executing a stylish combo is always a satisfying experience. I was concerned that playing Devil May Cry 5 would reduce the amount of times I could play this game, but luckily I can say that that is not the case. The game still has a lot of potential for repeated playthroughs, and I consider Devil May Cry 1 to be a genuine masterpiece and one of my favorite games to play on the PlayStation 2. That is everything that I have to say about this game. If you have never experienced Devil May Cry ever, I'm glad that this video hopefully introduced you to it and maybe potentially pique your personal interest, especially if you're a fan of action games. Be sure to let me know what you guys think about Devil May Cry in the comments below, and I will be back with another video on Devil May Cry, and next time we are going to talk about Devil May Cry 3 Dante's Awakening. I'll see you there.
You are dead!